A hollow Earth theory is one of the most controversial scientific theories in history. The idea of life existing inside the Earth, with its own world, a different sun, and atmosphere, seems utterly far-fetched. It's as absurd as claiming the Earth is flat. Yet, despite its implausibility, the hollow Earth theory has persisted for centuries. Even today, there remains a group of people who believe in the hollow Earth and continue to search for evidence to prove its validity. Why is that? What exactly is the hollow Earth theory? Does it have any scientific or experimental basis? Why has it lasted for so long, despite modern science disproving its existence? In today's video, we will explore the origins, scientific foundations, and experimental evidence of the hollow Earth theory, to see if these deeply held beliefs are truly misguided. I'm excited to bring you this video unraveling the mysteries of the hollow Earth. Unveiling the mystery of the hollow Earth. First, we must all agree that the ideas presented in this video are not supported by modern science. The information presented here largely reflects the perspective of those who support the hollow Earth hypothesis and should not be considered as valid scientific knowledge. It has no place in established scientific discourse. Perhaps this story should begin with the earliest views of the Earth, before modern science. Reasoning and logic were the best tools for explaining or speculating about the Earth. Humanity has sometimes looked at the world through different lenses, based on the knowledge available. If a child were born without knowledge of the Earth and was taught that our planet is flat, it would have no reason to doubt this belief. Indeed, the flat Earth theory is a prime example of how people once conceived the Earth. The flat Earth theory proposed that the Earth was a flat disk, a view based on everyday visual perception. Pre-modern cultures, from ancient Greece to the classical period, as well as the Bronze and Stone Age civilizations of the ancient Near East, and even ancient India and China, up until the 17th century, embraced this view of the Earth. It was also present in the New World cultures until Europeans arrived, who then suggested that the flat Earth was surrounded by a dome-like structure, resembling the shape of the sky, which became a common belief. However, our curiosity drove humanity to explore not only our origins, but also the planet we live on. Gradually, the belief in a flat Earth came to be seen as a severe opposition to science, based on the evidence that science had provided. We now understand that the Earth is spherical, orbiting the Sun in a cycle of 365 days, or more precisely 365 days and 6 hours. This is widely accepted as an undeniable truth. But why, despite the many efforts by scientists to prove otherwise, does the flat Earth community continue to hold on to their belief? They too had their reasons, with countless conspiracy theories arguing that the Earth cannot be spherical. We may not believe them, but let's hear them out. One of the most popular arguments used by the flat Earth community is the horizon. Some people believe what they see with their own eyes, and they argue that the horizon appears flat, so the Earth cannot be spherical. However, the fundamental flaw in this argument is that they overlook the fact that the Earth has an average diameter of 12,742 kilometers, making it enormous. Imagine an ant standing on a ball with a diameter of 1,000 meters. It would never see any curvature, because something so small on a surface so large wouldn't notice it. In other words, the horizon is curved, but it's just too subtle for us to perceive. In theory, we would be able to see the curvature of the horizon if we were high enough, about 10,600 meters, higher than Mount Everest. Moreover, many organizations, including NASA and the ESA, have captured images showing the curvature of the horizon during their space explorations. Of course, the flat Earth community dismisses these images, claiming they are created with photographic technology. The flat Earth theory also claims that the North Pole is the center of the Earth, while the South Pole is a giant wall that surrounds the disk to prevent water and everything else from falling into space. The problem is, the wall in Antarctica would be enormous. They even believe that there is an organization that connects all the governments to prevent anyone from trying to climb over it, and discover that the Earth is not spherical. In short, no one has ever crossed the Antarctic wall. However, the truth is that humans have crossed Antarctica many times, even reaching areas that were nearly inaccessible. Of course, these journeys were perilous, and many scientists have lost their lives during these expeditions. Clearly, the flat Earth theory has crumbled in the face of scientific evidence against it. A similar fate has befallen the hollow Earth theory. However, there are some key differences between the two. Based on historical records from early Earth researchers and explorers, humanity has accumulated knowledge that allows us to understand the size, shape, and available resources on our planet. Over the past 2 centuries, during the era of modern exploration, few have dared to directly explore the hidden corners of our planet. This is because exploration not only requires time and resources, but it's also a highly risky endeavor. We are currently exploring Mars, while still having many unexplored places on Earth, or areas that have been lost to time. Thus, many mysteries remain that humanity has yet to uncover. For many years, people didn't really question much about what lies inside the Earth, which is understandable considering the greater issues we've always faced, like war, famine, or pandemics. Many wonders were proposed by early geologists, but they never captured enough public attention. It wasn't until the late 19th century that new discoveries and hypotheses, including the hollow Earth theory, began to gain public attention. This theory even garnered support from scientists, politicians, and global leaders. However, the hollow Earth theory had existed long before, originating in the myths of ancient civilizations. In ancient times, the idea of a world within the Earth seemed like a worthy topic of debate because it was tied to concepts such as Hades in Greek mythology. Hades refers both to the god who ruled the underworld in Greek mythology and the underworld itself. Additionally, there's Niflheim in Norse mythology, Hell in Christianity, and Sheol in Judaism. The concept of an underground world is also mentioned in the Vedic texts, such as the Puranas, which tell of an ancient city called Shambhala hidden within the earth. The idea of an underground realm beneath the earth is quite common in folklore, mythology, and ancient legends. According to the ancient Greeks, there were caves beneath the earth that served as entrances to the underworld, such as the caves at Tainaron in Laconia and Heraclea in Pontos. According to the myths of the Thracians and Dacians, the underground world was ruled by an ancient deity named Zalmoxis. In the religion of Mesopotamia, there are stories of a man entering a tunnel in Mount Marshu and reaching an underground garden. The first person to scientifically speculate about the hollow earth was Atman Halley, famous for discovering Halley's Comet, who proposed it in 1692. Halley's theory suggested that the planet was a series of concentric spherical shells rotating in different directions, all surrounding a central core. Basically, it looked something like this. According to his calculations, based on readings from the magnetic field and what he knew about the sun and moon's gravitational effects on Earth, this model could explain any inaccuracies in the readings of the planet's magnetic field. He also suggested that the space between each shell could have a glowing atmosphere capable of supporting life. Halley's strange idea was expanded and developed in the following centuries. He believed that the entire interior of the Earth was simply an enormous cave, unimaginable in scale. Generally, this new concept of a hollow Earth came with the theory of a small sun hanging in the middle, creating a lush, habitable environment inside the Earth. According to some Hollow Earth websites, this vision was developed by famous mathematicians and scientists such as Leonard Euler in the 18th century and Cecil Leslie in the 19th century. This may seem simple, but it was an extremely important justification for those who believed in the Hollow Earth theory to cling to as proof. Having support from renowned astronomers was highly valuable in spreading their message. Let's continue and see how the Hollow Earth theory developed after receiving this support. In 1818, John Cleves Symmes, a former U.S. Army officer, published his first study, declaring to the world that the Earth was hollow. But unfortunately, in the 19th century, Symmes' theories were not well received, with mockery from the scientific community and the public. He did not remain silent, but continued to defend his belief. Symmes did everything he could, from lecturing on his theories to calling for support, even preparing an expedition to explore the Earth's interior. But in the end, it all came to nothing, and this belief followed him until his death in 1829. The Hollow Earth theory, since then, received little attention from the public until this character appeared. He was Jules Verne, the author of Journey to the Center of the Earth. Initially, the novel was published in French, but it quickly got translated into different languages and spread across the world. The book attracted so much attention that in 1867, Jules Verne published another version, expanding on the details of the Earth's core. The story of the novel describes an expedition entering a volcano in the Antarctic, heading toward the Earth's center. After 2 months, the expedition finally reaches the Earth's core, where they discover an entirely new civilization, powered by a small sun at the Earth's core. This civilization is as advanced as the 19th century world, with a strong focus on infrastructure. But this is also where the big problems related to the Hollow Earth theory began. As this book became more popular, some people genuinely considered the book not as a novel, but as if it were actually presenting new discoveries. This also caught the attention of various scientists, inspired by the novel to actually believe that this theory could be true. Many writers started a campaign, blending this new discovery with the rest of the world to make it exist as a credible theory. You know, no matter how outlandish it sounds, as long as you understand it well enough, repeat it often, and find gaps in counterarguments, you can make it sound reasonable. That is, those who believe in the Hollow Earth are trying to find ways to integrate this theory into the scientific discourse, keeping it alive. This first occurred in the late 19th century by a researcher in the field of geography. The book titled Physical Geography was written by Aroldo de Azevedo. He wrote about a mysterious world beneath our feet, believing that the scientists of the time knew nothing about what lay beneath them beyond 5 miles. Over 7.5 kilometers was indeed a huge number for that era. No one could dig that deep, and the Earth was just too large, with the distance from the surface to the core being over 6,000 kilometers. Therefore, it was believed that something existed in that gap. The author continued to point out that scientists only proposed theories and hypotheses without any solid evidence to determine their reliability. After Aroldo de Azevedo's work was published, a large number of scholars supported this theory or variations of it. In the early 20th century, this theory really gained attention from scholars across different fields. Even German scientists before World War II studied this theory. Sadly, all research materials were either lost or destroyed in the war. For most believers, the Hollow Earth is a lush paradise, like in Godzilla movies. It is very likely to be home to a race of humans, aliens, or giants. The inhabitants here are descendants of ancient races, like the Lemurians. Or, according to Rodney Clough, author of World Top Secret, our Earth is hollow. The 10 lost tribes of Israel were led by God to this place through an entrance in the Arctic. No matter where they come from, They are typically described as much more advanced than we are. They have flying saucer technology, live healthy, perfect lives for centuries. Their science is far more advanced because they've had much longer periods of peace. While we're preoccupied with conflict, religion, and world wars, they have been focused on building and developing their own world. The climate inside the hollow Earth is perfect, producing animals or humans that are much larger and healthier than those on the surface. It has a perfect temperature. God created the inner sun to provide heat during the day and reduce it slightly at night. The trees are up to 1,000 meters tall, and people are nearly 5 meters tall. This is how Clough described it. Because the living conditions are so ideal, animals also grow to enormous sizes. This inner world is sometimes linked to Agartha, the legendary city at the Earth's core, often associated with Eastern mysticism. Now the question arises: if people believe that the Earth is hollow and home to super races and giant animals, why have we never made contact with them or reached there as they supposedly have? To protect and support his beliefs, Rodney Clough took extraordinary actions to open the mysterious path to the hollow Earth. Between the mid-2000s and early 2010s, Clough conducted long expeditions for his cause. The most recent was an expedition attempting to enter the Earth's interior at the North Pole. Unfortunately, after several failures, the members of the group became victims of various disasters, from cancer to fatal plane crashes. The expedition was interrupted. If the expedition had succeeded and produced positive results, the research team would have hired one of the largest icebreakers in the world to go directly to the North Pole. But of course, that will never happen. Despite failing many times, they still hope that one day they can get funding to continue this glorious journey. In fact, Clough was not the first to attempt an expedition into the Earth's interior. Such expeditions had been carried out over half a century ago by a much more reputable figure. Going back to the mid-20th century, when the technological revolution had not yet developed and the hollow Earth theory still had a place. At that time, more and more unusual discoveries were being made, suggesting the presence of a world inside the Earth. Belief in the hollow Earth theory reached its peak when a prehistoric mammoth fossil was discovered in the permafrost of Siberia. Though the initial discovery led people to believe that mammoths lived in cold places, scientists later discovered that mammoths were actually ancestors of the elephants, currently living in Africa and other warmer regions. What was even more puzzling was the discovery of undigested tropical fruits in the mammoth's stomach. How could it have obtained tropical fruit in the freezing cold of Siberia? Many scientists speculated that the mammoth might have lived in an underground world. Some mammoths accidentally passed through the path connecting the north and south poles of the Earth. They emerged onto the surface and could not survive in the freezing climate and died from the cold. Therefore, the tropical fruits remained in their stomachs. As the doubts reached their peak, one figure decided to take a stand and do something different. That figure was Richard Evelyn Byrd. But who was he? Is this person someone we can trust? Admiral Richard Evelyn Byrd was a U.S. Navy officer specializing in exploring polar regions. He was originally a Navy pilot and the first person to fly over the North Pole. Additionally, he was one of the first Americans to land in the polar regions and organize the construction of logistics bases there. Byrd attended the Australian Military Academy before financial circumstances inspired him to transfer to the U.S. Naval Academy in 1912. He learned to fly during World War I while serving in the U.S. Navy. Byrd developed a passion for aviation and pioneered many navigational techniques over open oceans. His name was given to the USNS Richard E. Byrd, a cargo ship of the U.S. Navy's 7th Fleet. Driven by his passion for exploration, on November 28, 1929, Richard Evelyn Byrd and his team became the first to fly over the South Pole. According to reports, after the expedition returned on June 18, 1930, the U.S. Navy Command recognized Richard Evelyn Byrd as the first person to fly over Antarctic airspace. Richard naturally became the youngest admiral in U.S. history. With this wealth of information, accomplishments, and status, it could be said that the admiral had gained certain trust from the public. And with his burning passion for exploration, Richard Evelyn Byrd won the hearts of the Hollow Earth theory supporters with an expedition. The journey began in February 1947. According to the records, Byrd led an expedition into the Earth's interior through a passage at the North Pole. The deeper they went, the more overwhelming the sight became for Byrd. Nearly 25 years later, in 1965, his diary about the exploration of the world inside the Earth was published in detail. He recorded in his diary, "Before me were valleys covered with lush green vegetation. In the valleys, there were small streams with the sound of water trickling through. Not only that, but a large number of extinct animal and plant species were also found in this place. Byrd saw creatures that had been extinct for a long time on Earth, such as dinosaurs and mammoths. The ceiling of the cave was like a sky, with floating objects moving in very strange ways. There were glowing spacecraft, disc-shaped, hovering above, with strange symbols etched on the hulls of the ships. This place looked like a vast military base. What was even more astonishing, as Byrd's expedition entered this land, suddenly, Byrd's radio emitted a hoarse voice with a slightly Nordic accent and a German tone. 'Welcome, Admiral, to our land.' A few tall individuals appeared, with blonde hair and white skin. They looked very human. These people appeared to be quite friendly, and they carried no weapons or signs of aggression. His team said they had come to welcome him to their world. But it didn't stop there. Byrd's diary revealed even more valuable information. This was the world inside the Earth, called Agartha. They had an incredibly advanced level of technology, far beyond what humans on the surface had. They still did not intend to make contact with the outside world. However, after the U.S. dropped 2 atomic bombs on 2 cities in Japan during World War II, they realized the weapons humans were capable of wielding. These weapons could very well destroy the entire surface world and impact their world beneath the Earth as well. They sent aircraft to the territories of the powerful nations, holding these destructive weapons to deliver a message. But there was no positive response. These aircraft were attacked by human fighter jets. At the end of the expedition, and upon his return, Byrd had a meeting with the American Department of Defense. All the information from the meeting was recorded in detail, and a report was submitted to the current president, Truman. This is the basic diagram of the world inside the Earth that the Admiral described. I know many of you who come here will ask, do I believe in the Hollow Earth theory? So the likely answer is no. Why? Simply because as science and technology have advanced, questions about the Hollow Earth have gradually been answered scientifically, much like the Flat Earth theory. The first and most solid rebuttal is the inconsistencies with the gravitational force. Earth's structural models, based on seismic wave studies, have shown significant differences from the Hollow Earth model. Other rebuttal arguments stem from the principles and consequences of gravitational force. Massive objects tend to cluster together and form spherical solid bodies, such as planets and stars. As a result, the gravitational potential becomes minimal. In other words, a hollow structure is completely disadvantageous from an energy perspective. Moreover, ordinary matter is not strong enough to support giant hollow objects against gravitational force. Specifically, A hollow sphere the size of a planet, with the thickness of Earth's crust, cannot maintain a hydrostatic equilibrium with its own mass and would collapse. Additionally, the inhabitants living inside the hollow Earth would not survive the immense gravitational force like those on the surface. In other words, people living inside the Earth would be in a near weightless state. This was first demonstrated by Isaac Newton. According to his shell theorem, the gravitational force from the shell would be zero for objects inside a hollow sphere, regardless of the thickness of the shell. In fact, because the Earth is not a perfect sphere, but slightly flattened at the poles, a small gravitational force could still act on objects within the Earth. Additionally, the gravitational pull from the Moon, Sun, or other celestial bodies could also contribute to this force. The centrifugal force due to Earth's rotation would also pull an object inside the Earth toward the crust, if that object were moving at the same speed as Earth's interior and touched the inner surface. However, the maximum centrifugal force at the equator is only about 1/300th of Earth's gravitational force. Furthermore, if the Earth were truly hollow, its mass would be much smaller, and the gravitational force it generates could not be as strong as it is today. This is incredibly solid scientific evidence against the hollow Earth hypothesis. As for experimental scientists, the existence of a civilization beneath the Earth is also not widely supported. Do you remember the notion that scientists knew nothing about what lay beneath their feet, beyond 5 miles or more than 7.5 kilometers that we mentioned earlier? Over time, this argument collapsed with the advent of the world's deepest borehole in the 20th century, drilled by the Soviet Union. It was located on a remote peninsula in northwestern Russia called Kola, the source of many great mysteries that attracted scientists and explorers for decades. For decades, scientists had been drilling in this area toward the center of the planet to understand Earth's core, completing it in 1989 at a depth of 12,226 meters. The Kola Superdeep borehole in the Soviet Union became the deepest artificial borehole ever attempted by humankind in the 20th century. However, shortly after, something unusual happened. The Soviet scientists' plans were thwarted. They seemed to have no choice but to permanently seal the Kola Superdeep borehole. There have been continuous speculations and conspiracy theories suggesting that they had drilled to hell due to the eerie sounds coming from the hole. They sounded as if millions of souls were screaming. But in reality, as they drilled deeper, the temperature increased twice as much as expected, and this extreme heat caused the drill bits to quickly deteriorate as they continued to grind against the rocks. Furthermore, the researchers discovered that at those depths, the rocks were much less dense than they initially thought, which made them react to the higher temperatures in unpredictable ways. So, the technical factors were the main reason why the project had to stop halfway, not some mysterious force of hell or hollow Earth. Not to mention the idea of another sun existing inside. The Earth is one of the most scientifically absurd ideas that could be imagined. Such a massive energy source supporting life on a planetary scale could not exist in such a small size, especially when surrounded by Earth's crust. In many respects, the hollow Earth theory is even less convincing than theories about aliens or mystical creatures. So, do you think there's a real world beneath our feet? And if so, what would be the most logical explanation for its existence? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. Now, let's wrap up the video here. Goodbye, and we hope to see you again in the next videos. Have a wonderful day with your family.